Oh, I think Kumar wants to. Okay, Kumar back.
Hi, Juliet.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. Excited to be here.
Great. So I was just about to call you actually because I didn't see you at the meeting.
Yeah, I was having a little bit of difficulty with Teams, so thankfully I was able to get in.
All right, we're so glad.
Thank you. I'm excited, looking forward to it.
Great. Our department head couldn't join today, the interim department head. So the associate department head should have shown up, but he's not here so far. I'm waiting for him.
Sure, no problem.
But Dr. Gupta is here, so he could be our backup.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well, thank you. Hi, Dr. Gupta.
Hey, how are you all doing?
Hi, Dr. Gupta.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Good. Hi, Gopal.
I see Vaili. Hey, Vaili, how are you doing?
We miss you at these talks, you know.
I missed the last one, but I'm here. Hey, I only missed one, the last one. So I'm here. So I think you may want to let me text. He will join. I think he might be just a little bit late.
So do you want to go ahead and introduce Dr. Gupta? Like you want to welcome?
So you give another 30 seconds to Ovidiu. Let me just text him. I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I think he might be held up in a meeting, I suspect. Give him another, maybe we can give another couple minutes for other people, more people to show up.
Okay.
I see people popping up one after the other. Let me text Ovidiu. Okay. So how's everybody doing? I guess surviving the COVID era.
Surviving the COVID and surviving the cold.
And cold. I know. Well, the cold is here. I mean, I think more than the cold, it's the lack of sun, right? It's just been cloudy for.
Right.
Is he here? No, not yet. Okay, here. Yeah, so I just texted him. But look at the bright side. The semester will be over in 30 days, right? 5 weeks.
Yeah, November 20th.
Was
November 25th. November 25th.
Oh, really? And then just the exam.
Yeah.
Finals. Wow. I know. And then it's almost, till 19th or something when the semester starts.
Yeah, Jan 19th.
Let's see. So DT is out of town or?
Yeah, he said he's out of town.
Yeah, his message says he call with you.
I think he's here. Dr. Dasku, are you here? He's showing up in the participant list. There he goes.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm having problems lately with my internet connection, and so I had to reset the router again. I don't know what's happening. It's just random times of the day. It's slowing down or it's not working. I'm losing connection. So I apologize for being late. And let me just figure out who is here now. Give me one second.
People are still joining, so give another minute and then we can get started.
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
And that will give Dr. Dasku time to settle down. I have been working on a proposal, so deadline is in 2 weeks. So I'm right in front of the computer, so when the reminder comes, I can see it.
Okay, so yes, I see who is present, and again, thank you everyone for coming, and especially thank you to our invited speaker. We are actually really happy that you accepted our invitation and you are here. And thank you, Pushpa, and thank you, Norma, for taking care of this and organizing. I'm Ovidiu Daescu. I'm Associate Department Head. Our Department Head, DT Huin, would have liked to participate, but he was not able to be here today. He is on travel. I see the introduction for Dr. Juliet Odima will be done by Pushpa, so I'm not going to say much about that. I just want to welcome you all and to tell you how glad I am that we keep doing this in this virtual setting. Of course, I have preferred to be there in that room and chat with everyone, but yeah, it's good that we can do it at least this way. Appreciate it.
And there is no pizza.
And there is no pizza. Yes. But we are not there for the pizza. That was a good perk, pizza and the drink. But really, for human proximity. Gopal, think about it.
Yeah, true.
Now could be AI-driven avatars.
I know.
There you go. Okay.
All right. So yeah, we don't have the pizza and the gift cards, but we have the speaker and we have all the excellent audience. So we're going to get started with Juliet's talk. This is our 28th talk, believe it or not. We started this Grace Talk series 5 years back, and now the last 3 lectures have been in a virtual setting. So I'm going to introduce Juliet Odima, our esteemed speaker today. If I can move the slide. All right, so Juliet Odima is the Executive Director of STEAM Achievers, Associate Vice President and the Director of the School of Data Science and Analytics, Colaberry, Inc. She was awarded the prestigious 2018 Women in Technology Advocate Distinction Award by the Dallas Business Journal. She's an honoree of the 2018 Women in Technology by Dallas Business Journal. She's been featured in several news outlets that includes the ABC, WFFA, AA News, Dallas Business Journal, Ozobot, Rambler newspapers, etc. She was also awarded the Golden Rule International Award, and she's been appointed as the Goodwill Ambassador for the Golden Rule by the Interfaith Peace Building Initiative, a United Nations affiliate. So again, it's my honor and extreme privilege to welcome Juliet Odima as the speaker for today. So without further delay, I'm going to hand it over to her. So Juliet, can you please take it on?
Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Pushpa, Dr. Kumar, Dr. Gupta. It's been wonderful speaking with you, meeting with you virtually. It's been a privilege working with Norma. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm excited to be a part of this. I have to say that after learning about this, about Grace series from a dear friend of mine, Dr. Javier Sami, I actually found out about it earlier this year. And he told me about the great work that you were doing at UTD. And upon receiving the invite, I was so honored, and I just want to thank you before we even get started. Now, I will tell you before I share my screen that I am not going to be your traditional speaker. So if you guys, I mean, I think it's kind of exciting because this has not been a traditional year, right? So I think in keeping with the theme that 2020 brought us, I'd like to invite you to take this journey with me, discovering what our next career move is and why. How do we navigate these waters? Where in the world are we today? And for those of us who have felt paralyzed by the many, many changes that have been happening, where do we go? How do we start? And for those of us who are transitioning, what does that look like? So I invite you to join me in this journey. I will go ahead and share my screen. And I am going to ask you questions as we go along. I'm very interactive and very visual. So I look forward to seeing your faces and having fun with you all. Thank you so much for being on this call. And I also welcome those participants who are joining us this evening. Share my screen here. Let me see if I can do this right. Give me a moment. Can you all?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I thought today would be a great time. I'm sure you have had from excellent speakers. I listened to them. I was inspired by them. Today, I want us to take a different turn in this talk and maybe have more of a heart-to-heart and audit our next career move. What does it look like to get that job, to advance in our career? What does it mean to become an advocate? And do we even need to be an advocate? And what about giving back? And why in the world do I have to spend time doing that? I'll start by telling you a little bit about my story. And I think before I tell you about my story, I want to recognize and extend my thoughts to all of those who are joining us on this talk who have been impacted by COVID in one way or another. I know our family has, and we have lost some loved ones. And I want to recognize that this has not been an easy year for most, and that there are fears that come along with that. We have had opportunities to think about our job security. We've had times when we are wondering, not even just about our job security, but the anxiety about whether we are good enough to even advance if that was the plan, prior to 2020. We have been faced with company closures. We've been faced with ongoing news headlines. We can't ignore the racial injustice and equality challenges that are facing this nation and others. The elections that are just about a week away from now, and fear for our own health, our well-being, etc. In this moment, I invite you to join me in this journey as we explore that maybe there could be some bright spots in the midst of what seems like a dark time, and to see what those bright spots are. And being that, we are fortunate to be, in a field that's, very much driven by computer science. We have data scientists and we have faculty members. I think it's a diverse enough audience in that respect to explore a little bit about what those bright spots look like and how can we spread hope to the rest of us who are struggling, and our students who are really going through these uncertainties, and bring them onto the other side where the hope can be found. So I want to start by telling you a little bit about my journey. My journey has been has been filled with lots of career transformations. My background is was in accounting, auditing. I was a controller for more than 10 years, and in those times I was with a number of luxury hotel properties, and I really enjoyed my experience. I think it was just extraordinary. I thought it was that kind of exciting life where you get to travel from one state to the next, training folks in different technologies, and I was part of launching one of the Marriott hotel chains over 15 years ago, and training people from the South Central region. So many wonderful accomplishments, and I thought that would be my career pathway for the rest of my life, until it got to a point where I was ready they were preparing me for growth and, to be in a very significant leadership role, and to be among one of only 43 leaders of 43 hotels that are spread out around the world. This was a luxury hotel chain, and I was really, really excited. Except there was one little thing that was not so little anymore. I was now blessed with our third baby. I was expecting our third daughter, and I was excited, but I was so nervous because I couldn't see what that looked like. So what did I do? I looked up to see if mentors, some people who maybe have had more experience than me, that had more experience than I had. So I started to look, and I checked around the boardrooms, and so out of those 43 properties 43 leaders, there were only 2 women. One of them was married with a dog. So two women, the rest, no offense to the gentleman, but there were only 2 women in that one role that I was being prepared to enter into. And of those 2 women, one of them was married, and they did not have children, only had a dog. I say that to say a lot of things. I couldn't imagine what breaking that glass ceiling would look like, if we want to call it a glass ceiling. And I couldn't see how I was going to balance work and family, and which I was going to have to choose. So I had to then, I happened to be among the team that was making decisions on who was going to be let go. And unfortunately, those were during the economic downturn of 2008, that whole period of time. I was one of those decision makers, and then faced with a situation where it was now my turn to get cut, and the decisions were made for me. They were, of course, looking at who was making the most, etc. And the decision was made for me, and I received a severance package. It was a blessing in disguise, but also disappointing, because this is all I knew. This is what I loved. This is what I thrived in. I mean, I led teams of over 120 people. It was exciting, of managers and leaders and supervisors, etc. I was excited but disappointed, and so I had to go back to the drawing board to see what career pathway I could get into without having to lose my family in the process. And technology became that career pathway. So I joined the game a little late compared to my awesome peers here, colleagues here. I really had a difficult time finding a way to get into technology with my background. Where do we even start? I don't know how to code. Don't ask me to code. I don't know what coding is. But I was fortunate enough to find an opportunity to learn how to code. I entered into data analytics, learned data visualization, and I had an excellent experience. And I thought, well, this is exciting, but I also have the leadership background, and I'd like the two to come together at some point. So another transition. So as time went by, I was able to grow in a company at the time, which was Colaberry. Colaberry welcomed me and welcomed my background, and I was able to use the two together to build my career, which was really exciting. I thought, wow, I have this chance. And by then my children were a little bit older. And then as time went by, I was also faced with I also found some opportunities. I was able to leave the company and still maintained a wonderful relationship with our CEO, and I was able to now navigate those waters. I am now having these children. I'm blessed with a daughter who is on the autism spectrum. So that made it. So every decision I made, as I'm sure every one of you on this call is having to make, had to be very well thought out and very strategic in a sense, because it was not just about my life. So with that, I was fortunate enough to get into the nonprofit world and became an executive director for STEAM Achievers. STEAM Achievers is just something that I'm just so excited about. It is the goal of STEAM Achievers is threefold. The first goal is to bridge the academic, the STEAM, the academic, and therefore career achievement gap among scholars from different walks of life, from different ethnicities, and to inspire the next generation. And I know that sounds very cliche, but what we wanted to do was to put the dots so close together that scholars from all walks of life, girls, boys, young adults, we put the dots so close together that they could visualize and hopefully plan for a career in science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Why was this important to even me? The reason it was so important to me was I just kept thinking, what if I learned how to code when I was 5 and 6? Where would I be? Who knows if I would be, who knows where we would be, right? Would we be would we have been the first CEO of Yahoo? Maybe the first CEO of Google? Who knows? Who knows? So that drove my interest in seeing a change occur beginning from an early age. And so with that, we were so inspired to start and develop some very impactful programs that were not just fillers, but we wanted to bring partners, which was the third goal, to bring the business community, to bring the corporate community, to bring higher education into the mix to help us achieve the first two goals. And I'm pleased to say that UTD has been such a wonderful friend to STEAM Achievers. We have been able to together host several hackathons where kids were giving back by designing video games for children with autism. This actually occurred for years before my daughter was diagnosed. So just so you know, the timeline was my daughter was diagnosed with autism, as being on the autism spectrum after STEAM Achievers had been, after I had been with STEAM Achievers. So I didn't even know that these worlds were going to collide. We were working very actively with, and we still do work actively with UNT Christine Farmer Autism Center. And so the setup was this, that we would go into, I'm saying it sounds like past tense because 2020 has been a different type of year, and we are moving into a fully virtual environment. But what we would do is we would go into several school districts, into the lowest income regions in the city of Dallas, Irving, and other cities within the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And we would teach these kids coding skills, engineering skills. We would teach them science. We would teach them, and one of the things that is really critical to us is we always ask students, what do you want to be when you grow up? The stories that remained with me are the ones that I heard from children who constantly said, I want to be a janitor like my dad. I want to be a cook. I remember this young boy said, I want to be a cooker like my mom. Meaning that, he wanted to be a cook. And I thought those stories were really important. We needed to get them to put the dots together and see, if I can learn how to code, if I can learn how to build a small robot within this period of time, can I maybe one day become an engineer? can I maybe one day learn a different skill? If I would learn what it's like to be an EMT, or what it's like to be a doctor, or when we would take them to UT Southwestern, or bring people, professors and faculty members and volunteers and students, doctorate students, to speak to these children and actually show them what it's like to test for vital signs. Would that spark an interest in their minds that there is a possibility that one day they could be a doctor, or they could join some other field, or maybe what can I do with math? I love math. What can I do with math? So that is the goal of STEAM Achievers. And since then, we have been fortunate to be a part of your community, thanks to the many volunteers and mentors that we've had. We bring together mentors and volunteers, and many of them have been executives from different parts of science, from science fields, technology fields, engineering fields, art fields, which are critical. And I think that kind of exploration comes together, and also mathematics, and bring those together to then inspire children to do something with their lives and tell their story and say, I was homeless like you, or this was my journey, and I believe that you can do it too, while coding together, while designing video games, while understanding what in the world autism is. What does it mean to have a special need? And then those children would then collaborate with executives and the leaders and mentors in designing collaboratively using project management methodologies. Imagine that. Using project management methodologies, they would spend entire days designing video games for children with autism that were to be used by UNT Christine Farmer Autism Center students and patients. So really incredible work that is exciting. But some of the achievements, and as you've heard, include some honors that I'm so blessed that to even have been mentioned with the types of women and achievers, if I would say that, that were recognized by the Dallas Business Journal. These are people, leaders of global organizations. But I think the concept is the idea behind this work was very personal to me. And that's why it was such an honor to be able to extend my experiences to others. I also serve as an associate vice president and director of the School of Data Science and Analytics at Colaberry Incorporated. We are our goal is to bring is to open doors for people with or without technology experience into the into thriving careers in data science and analytics. And I'm really excited about the achievements that we've had together and the honors that we've had. This is something I'm extremely proud of. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit to say that, okay, you've heard my story, but I want to share, I want to see where you feel you are, and whether you're a faculty member or if you're a student. I think there's something in it even for me to learn. In this environment, we're thinking, okay, so Juliet just told us her story, and I didn't mention that I was also a director of digital transformation, learning and development, also with a company, and where we were, and part of our my core responsibility was to create learning management systems for that were to serve almost 100,000 users around 49 states in 113 locations. This person who did not have any technology experience or background, this person who was uncertain about where I can fit in, I am the same person who, you know, I know we all are from different places, or, you know, from different parts of the world. I was mocked, like many of you, for my accent. I do have an accent. I'm originally from Kenya. And I was mocked in boardrooms and so on, not for much more than my accent, and the bias, and then the being shunned and not allowed to to share or what my feedback was very easily, and you just learn to navigate those things. And I want to share a little bit of that to see if maybe we can do an audit, and if I can maybe inspire someone here on this call, on this talk tonight, that it doesn't matter where your journey has taken you, there is hope for each and every one of us. And so I thought we could get started with an audit. So for those who are students, and I'd love to hear really quickly if we have a student on the line, if you have are aspiring to get into some kind of a career in a computer science pathway or beyond, I'd love to hear your feedback. Feel free to post some questions as we go along. But my question to you is, do you feel that you would be job ready on day one, right? So we are acquiring, UTD, of course, is an amazing institution. Your professors are doing an incredible job. And they are relying on you to make sure that you are doing a great job at school, which is awesome. The challenge I have for you is, can you make sure that as you're going through your learning experiences semester after semester, can you try to put the job in front of you and see if you could be job ready on day one for that job that you are aspiring to join? That's a challenge. And can an employer trust you with extracting, transforming data and loading their multi-million-dollar data? Right now there's so much these metadata out there. Can they trust you with that? Okay, ETL is simple. That's the baseline. But this is just to say, of course, as a data scientist, you'll be doing a whole lot more. Can they trust you, right? And what do you need then? If you don't feel that you would be ready, what would you need to do now to make sure that you would be ready to be trusted with that data, with that work, with those transformations, the digital transformations that need to occur? And then I would say one thing that we often neglect, and I run into this a lot with the people that I've been fortunate to mentor, is how are we looking on your human skills? So human skills is this buzzword, I think, that I can only liken to STEM. We all know science, technology, engineering, and math became this buzzword years back. And now most institutions want to align themselves with that, which is great. Human skills is now, I think, the new buzzword for soft skills. I remember MIT had a human skills. I spoke at MIT earlier this year before the pandemic. I did a small presentation there during their human skills initiative. It was a workshop that they put together to audit the human skills that businesses are asking students and employees to have. So it was really exciting. So can you do an audit of your human skills, whether it's collaboration, participation? We know that you're really good at your technology, but do you feel like you can carry on? You can translate, the language, the technical language to a non-technical person or a business or the client himself. Can you do that effectively? Can you be able to mingle with others and carry on a conversation that is non-technical? Can you get to, and can you, there are several tools I would love to share, including some, I'm sure UTD has several, but I also have some resources I'd love to share if anyone is interested in learning some more. But very critical. We have found that employers are really looking for that well-rounded individual, as you all know. And what about your visibility, right? So you're so amazing. You can create these slowly changing dimensions. You're great at, your skills are top notch. But who really knows about them, right? Have you had a platform? Do you have a platform where you can show off your dashboards or your work, your book of work? Do you have a place outside of your classroom environment, right? Outside of your professor who's so, who's so proud of your work, who is so inspired by your work? and your fellow students who feel like you're doing an incredible job, do you have a space outside of that to showcase your skills? And where could that be? And I will move this. I would like to talk about this in conjunction with volunteerism, right? Because as students, sometimes we don't see that the value in volunteering, not because we don't care, but because, you know, we're busy, right? We're trying to graduate quickly. We're trying to accomplish a lot, and there's so much more to be done. Plus, maybe we have families and other responsibilities. But remember, what I would suggest to you, if I may, would be, can you look at organizations that could use your skill set as it is right now, not perfected because you're still working on it. Could you find a nonprofit organization or for-profit organization, small business, city, police department that needs a data science solutions, that needs a data visualization solutions, that needs a platform to be built for them? Could that be your segue into that job, right? So you want to see if you can volunteer and for you, maybe it would just take not very many hours a day, but you would be amazed at how much that by virtue of the fact that you're volunteering your time and your talent, you are opening the business's eyes to see the need that they have for you in that company. And it's amazing how then budgets then, come together. Another challenge I have for us in this audit, remember I started in my career as in auditing, so you're going to hear that word a lot. So auditing your circle. What does your circle look like, right? Who is in your circle? Do you have sponsors? Do you have mentors? Do you have gatekeepers? I'm going to pause here for just a moment, and I'm going to challenge Dr. Kumar here, if I may. What do you feel about sponsors? Have you ever thought about, I'm sure you've probably already had these conversations with your students. Would you mind sharing what your understanding of sponsors and mentors is, if I can put you on the spot?
All right.
Don't you just love it?
So the role of a mentor is to provide coaching and leadership. If you come across any problem, then they will give you the responsibilities and the needed advice to help you out with that. And a sponsor is someone that, for example, if you're working on a project, then a sponsor will help you to make that project feasible, either through sponsorship by money, and then provide the time to complete that project.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, and thanks for allowing me to put you on the on the spot. What I would add to that is that a sponsor in the work environment is also the person who speaks up for you, right? So as a faculty member or as a student, I'm going to talk about faculty members, that person in the boardroom, or that person who is a leader or the head of the department, or the head of the department, who in there is speaking about Dr. Pushpa. Now that I'm going to put you way in the spot, who is speaking about her skill set. Oh, no, I think she would be the best person to do this. I think she would be the best person to do that. I think a sponsor is also critical in the work environment because, sometimes we need those allies, right? And I'm going to kind of single out the ladies here and kind of speak to the ladies here. I think we can, I think every one of us is likely to have experienced a time when it's hard to grow in the company. And what I have found is that when we have people who know us, people who we spend time with, this doesn't have to be a buddy, no. but somebody who you actually spend time with and gets to know what you're good at. That's the kind of, that person who has decision-making power, that person who's in the leadership circle, oftentimes is the person who can open the doors. I'm going to also challenge us ladies that what happens in the workplace is that the gentlemen are really good about, promoting one another. Can we just be honest? They're very good at promoting one another. And that's a good thing. And I think that's something we could learn from them, that we could be each other's allies and also be able to bring one another up. As you rise, I'm helping you. I see an opportunity here for improvement. I point it out. I share it with you. You help me. We kind of rise together, which is just a challenge that I would like to share with you. Now, again, about auditing our circle, I already talked about volunteering, and that is another way of showcasing to and even acquiring sponsors. I know that has worked for me, and I've been very fortunate to have had some amazing sponsors who have spoken in my absence, who sometimes, in our workplace, sometimes we also need someone to speak on our behalf to our character, right? That, oh, no, I think what she would have meant would have been this or this or this. Why don't we check with her? And someone who is, and you would also want to be that sponsor for other people, and that mentor to other people, and that gatekeeper for other people, and shining a positive light on their strengths so that you can allow them a chance to grow. And here I said I would not be your traditional type of speaker, because I was going to go a little bit touch on some things that are a little bit raw, to just open up those conversations and maybe just bring some things that we don't often talk about in this type of an environment, or in the workplace, or in our professional circles. It is, what do we do when life happens, right? What do we do when we're going through a divorce? God forbid we have family illnesses, or raising children with special needs or other needs, or those things that few people know about your life circumstances. What do we do when life happens? What about when, we are growing our families? Oh, and this applies to the men as well, motherhood and fatherhood. I don't want to leave the gentleman out. Can we find a safe space among our team members, among our colleagues, our fellow students, to ask for help? And my encouragement, and I want to wrap this section up by saying that we are first humans, and then I believe we are subjects of our past experiences and environments. So there's an equalizing factor there, right? That we all have been through something, right? We might be thriving in one area, but might be struggling in another. So there is no shame then to ask for help, right? If we're going through depression as students, we've heard stories of students who have unfortunately, taken their lives. As professors, do we want to reach out and maybe check the temperature of our classes? I know this is a virtual environment, but it would be awesome to just have that safe space that, hey guys, I know I'm your instructor, yes, and I'm teaching you about linear regression or whatever, but I want you to know that if you ever needed someone to speak to, I'm here for you. And if I don't have the answers, I can find the answers. I can find the person who does. I want you to thrive as a whole person, not just as a scholar. If you're going through domestic violence, I know those are hard things to mention in the work environment, but it's a challenge for all of us in our circles to just check in on one another and have maybe accountability partners, right? There is no shame asking for help. So that is the challenge that I would give to all of us. And another challenge is that we could advocate for one another, right? If somebody is going through something, you can see your fellow student is falling behind, right? This person is talking about leaving or dropping out of school. Be that advocate for them and say, hey, I know this is probably not in my place, but would you be able to check on so-and-so? It's just out of concern, and I'm sure UTD has that all figured out, but it's just a challenge that I would make to all of us. So finally, I wanted to say that I have not had it all together. I will be the first to tell you that one of my biggest struggles is fear. I might sound like I'm confident, but I think fear is a big problem and has been a big problem for me. Like I said, I'm originally from Kenya, came into this land after feeling like I've been, quite accomplished. I had a few businesses, small businesses back home. I had a little fast food restaurant that I was able to start with a loan from my parents, and it was doing well. I paid back the loan. I had 6 employees, and then this opportunity came to the United States, and I'm here in this land, and guess where I'm going to report to work? A gas station. I'm sorry, I was a boss. I had 6 employees. This was my income. I was trying to buy a home. I was trying to buy land at my young age. And I'm working here, stocking cold bottles of beer that I don't even drink. And it's very, very humbling. And it also evokes fear of so many unknowns. I was here on a visa. We all know that story. Before you ever, the pathway to naturalizing is a long one. For me, it took 20 something years. And I voted the other day. It was my first time to vote. But between the time I cast my vote this past week and 23 plus years ago when I came, there has been a lot of fear that has come through. Fear that, well, am I good enough to thrive in the United States? Do I have a place here? And I think being that we are such a diverse group of amazing people here at UTD and beyond, those are fears that maybe you might be able to identify with. So how I would say to you, what I have had to push myself to understand is that I have to push myself through invisibility. I have to speak up. I have to push myself through bias and just push right through it and understand that people sometimes don't, they just don't necessarily understand or are not able to empathize because their experience is very different. So giving people that grace allows us to live without bitterness or anger or frustration to an extent that is not healthy. And pushing through closed doors. I have been, it's funny, just to be honest, I'm one of these people that I will find a closed door and I'll be afraid, so fearful on the other side of the door, but I will open that door and I will walk in and you will not know that I'm shaking in my boots. I don't know how many can identify with that. So pushing right through that, because nobody knows that you're afraid unless you tell them that you're afraid. That's the saving grace, right? And then finding a way to get in front of the right people. And sometimes, at least in my experience, what I've found is being there for others takes me much further, and just genuinely just being there for them, helping them through their career aspirations, some people will call me the connector in chief, and I don't know where that came from, but I love connecting people. I don't want anything in return, but it just so happens that they remember me, and I hope that that helps someone who is a little bit afraid, because I used to be very, very shy. And then communicating our value by showing our outcomes, right? I'm not just saying what I can do, but this is what I'm able to produce, and I can do the same for you. And speaking to your, maybe you want to be the department head, challenging yourself to say, okay, I can take this on. I know it's a challenge. I've never done it before, but give me this, I'll figure this out. And proving your worth by the outcomes that you're able to produce. And of course, pushing through the wage gaps, and making a case that is non-emotional. It is just factual. Those are things that I have learned about negotiating salary, etc. A leadership audit is one thing that I wanted to make sure that I leave with you. Check and see are you leading in any part of your are you leading in any part of your experience? As a student, are you participating as a leader anywhere? You can even start a program and lead in that, but somewhere where you can make an impact and show your leadership. As a leader, I would like to say, when you become that leader, I would like to challenge you to give you a challenge that was given to me. What will you do, Juliet? What will you do, Dr. So-and-so? What will you do, student so-and-so? What will you do differently for women? What will you do differently for minorities? What will you do differently for the men? What will you do differently for the talent that's coming behind you? Perhaps you can glean on your own experiences, as I have had to do, to see, okay, it wasn't easy. I have a soft spot for women who are shy, because that was me. I have a soft spot for people who are from underrepresented communities, because I know more than I know more than a little bit about that. I have had, people who have been around me who have had real struggles that I have been able to witness firsthand, and people who have experienced loss in different ways. And I'm sure that we have similar stories. What can you do for those people who are looking for a break? And then I would challenge you to do that for the coming generations, for the younger generations. And I'm going to conclude by saying, before I open it up for some few questions, and as we come to the end of this talk, my conclusion, and what I would like to leave with you that still inspires me and makes me smile and sad at the same time, is what I said earlier. If I had started learning how to code, or if I had had a mentor who was maybe a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, or whatever else, would I be where I am today? If I had learned how to build my soft skills at age 6, 5, when I was a kid, if I was surrounded by mentors, if I had sponsors along my journey, if I had people who are challenging me, who would I be? Who would I have become? Who would I be today? I say that to say that you all have that opportunity to open doors for others, to mentor somebody else, to teach someone how to code, to teach people to teach a young person how to be a collaborator. We all have that opportunity. And I'm going to challenge you to go ahead and go for it. Thank you. I'm going to open this up for questions. I know we don't have much time, but I wanted to open it up for questions and comments.
I'll just say thank you for this wonderful talk. Very, very inspiring. Very inspiring indeed.
Thank you.
You had an interesting path, and I mean, you did amazing things.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So Juliet, I just also wanted to thank you for being so authentic, for being motivational, and being extremely inspiring, and for sharing yourself. I know it's not easy. Every speaker who comes on to talk about themselves, I know how it is, but I just want to acknowledge you for coming out with the knowledge and for the guidance, not just for students, but also for all the faculty that is present in this talk today. So thank you very much for the excellent talk today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar.
Hi, Juliet. I'd like you to ask you a question, because your path in life has been so interesting. You've always been looking forward, looking for opportunities. You have a lot of drive. Do you think that was something you were taught by your parents, or is it something you developed over time? Where does that come from?
Wow. I don't think anyone has ever asked me that question. May I? I appreciate the question. Where does my drive come from? Oh, I think I have an idea. My mom is I wish you would meet my mom. She is much shorter than me. The tip of her head is probably right below my, right at my, right above my elbow, if I can say that. She is such an inspiration to me. When we were going through, and I know this is going to sound weird, when we were going through our independence, our fight for independence in Kenya back in the 60s, we had our freedom fighters fighting fighting for our freedom. In that process, my mom's parents were shot outside of their home. They were both killed outside of their home. They refused to take an oath because of their faith. They refused to take a certain oath that they felt was outside of their faith, and their lives were taken away. She was 8 years old, and she had 9 siblings. And she, before her mom was shot, my grandmother gave her the youngest, Uncle Sam, their youngest brother, and said, take care of the baby. And then she was shot. She doesn't talk very much about this story, but the ways in which she turned her life around, raised the 9 siblings along with her brother. The way, we don't even know how many children she has adopted over the years. I think we would probably call it fostering here in the United States. But she has raised so many children. She would not leave them alone. She would actually pay them their way through high school. And if they wanted to go to college, she would try to raise some funds for them. The love and the passion and the lack of bitterness just drives me. She wakes up early in the morning, and she was an educator herself. I think that is probably where I can say that comes from, besides my faith. It's interesting you should say that, because my children do complain that I have too much energy, and I usually joke with them, and I tell them, and I even say this in the workplace, that I can outwork anyone, but I think my mom can outwork me about 10 times. So yeah, thank you for the question, and I'm very humbled that you would say such a nice thing. I appreciate it.
It's very inspirational.
Thank you very much. I'd love to hear a question from a gentleman if we have one. Okay, no questions from the gentleman. I do want to ask the lady who just asked me a question. What do you feel you can take away today? What question can I answer that you feel like in the space you're in at this time in your life? Is there one thing that jumps out at you that you say, I'm kind of stuck here, and maybe I could help explain or help a little bit, if you don't mind sharing?
I don't. I really like your framework of auditing. That's a very unique perspective, and I think it's very helpful. Personally, I've had a long, winding career path to get to the point that I am, and I'm an older professor here, so I kind of feel like I'm more at the end of my career, and that lessens my ambition but increases my desire to help the next generation, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So that's where I am, and I'm very happy in that space.
That's exciting. I love hearing that. Perhaps because growing up, I knew nothing but all I saw was my mom giving back. To hear you wanting to give back and to inspire someone else just makes my heart light up. Thank you for doing that. I'm sure you're going to touch on a great number of people. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Hi, Juliet. This is Klein Smith. I couldn't get off mute when you asked for a gentleman to have a question. I'm an instructor at UTD as well, and I've been doing it for about 3 years now. But before that, I was in corporate America for about 27 years, all the way up to you know, senior vice president, running countries, running divisions and groups. What advice would you, and so I focus a lot of what you're saying, I focus a lot on helping my students get ready for that first job, even as a freshman, things they need to think about. Outside of what you've said, anything else you recommend that I provide, especially to minority men, Black men, African American men, what would you recommend additional advice I give to them?
Wow. Thank you for the question. Congratulations on your many successes and the move to actually get in a classroom and inspire the people coming behind you is just, I love it. I love it. I think what I would say to encourage you, besides what I've already said, is to maybe spend some time hearing their stories. You will be surprised to hear they're really true stories. Like, I know this is a weird environment, so having a conversation such as that on Zoom or Microsoft or Teams might be a little bit awkward, but I would start by listening to their stories, to their experience. It will uncover a lot of things. The first thing it will be obvious to you probably will be the fear of the unknown. I know I've struggled with the fear of the unknown tremendously, but for Black men in America, the fear goes so much deeper for obvious reasons. So we have all seen the stories about inequity and social injustice, etc. But I think that beyond that, how the connection between those experiences and those fears is so real and actually bleeds into the fear of trying to pursue that first job. Those fears they're so interconnected. With Colaberry, one of the things that we have seen firsthand, we serve individuals from over 49 countries, each with their own experiences. And there's a common thread. So what we do is we spend a lot of time mentoring them, asking questions, and then I would challenge you because you asked about how to prepare them for the job market. I would challenge you to see if you can allow them an opportunity to get in front of a camera and you interview them at the level that they're in. Interview them so that you can see what employers will look at when they're looking at them. I would also challenge you to give them an opportunity for them to, and this is something that we do at Colaberry, is for them to showcase their projects, their completed projects. I have this data visualization project, this one and this one, so that those outcomes, those projects that they have built, speak for them, because the opportunities are not, which in all honesty, they're not necessarily as equal. The opportunities are not necessarily as equal if we can be transparent. Right. So sometimes demonstrating their expertise goes further than that paper resume. Does that make sense?
You know what? That's actually fantastic advice, because I love the tell the story part. I do mock interviews with them, but I do mock interviews with all my students. Anybody who has an offer, an interview, call me and we'll do a mock interview. But I love to tell the story and help them to grasp it. That's great advice. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate everything you've done on this call, and your journey has been fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. Keep up the great work with them.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Any other questions? I do want to thank you, Dr. Kumar, Ms. Norma, and the rest of the Dr. Norma and the rest of the team for inviting me. It has been a pleasure hearing your voices. You can tell I'm very, I love the interaction. I'm very outgoing. I'm an extrovert. So I thank you for accommodating my style and accommodating my storytelling. You can blame that on my mother. But I want to thank you for this wonderful privilege of being with you. if there's anything I can do to help you or your scholars or your teams, it would be my honor to help.
Okay, so can we give a round of applause for our speaker here, Juliet, from wherever you are?
Wonderful.
Like Dr. Kumar, I knew she was my favorite.
Oh, how sweet of you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Hopefully. Take care.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please be safe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Michelle.